Welcome back to Books and Bubbles. This is part 2 of our episode on The Last Session by Julia Bartz. We already finished our first section of this discussion, and so now we're going to deep dive into the crazy things that happened in New Mexico.
So we started talking a little bit about New Mexico. So I have a drink. It is a cucumber martini. It is inspired off of the cucumber water they drank while they were there. My favorite drink personally is the cucumber martini, so that's why I made one for everyone here. I never personally made one before, so we'll see how it tastes, but figured we would try it out.
Cheers. That's tasty.
Good.
Yeah, it's refreshing.
Super refreshing.
I have to know how many seeds you guys got because I think I got at least 4.
I got 0.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was great.
I think I drank some skin in there.
Yeah.
It was all good.
It's so refreshing, though.
Yeah, it's not that strong.
Yeah.
No. Which is shocking because it's mostly vodka.
So when Thea gets to the retreat in New Mexico, we of course do see Jonah again, but we also meet a whole new cast of characters as well. What were your guys' initial thoughts on each of those people?
Well, so we first met Karen at the airport, and that's my first red flag through the retreat. I was like, how long has she been there? So in the book, we find that somebody's going to pick them up from the airport, and then Karen is waiting there. And she's like, just sit down, relax. Somebody's going to come and get us. And I was like, how does she know that? Where is she from? Like, she can't just be like a member of this retreat. So that was my first red flag, definitely when meeting the very first character.
Completely agree. Karen was immediately on my radar. I was just like, she just seems to be answering these questions a little bit differently or reacting in different ways. And she was always the first to stand up for anything.
Yeah, I had no red flags. I was just like, oh, she's like a confident middle-aged white woman. Okay, I've seen plenty of Karens in my life. Like, makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, my red flags weren't initially raised by her. I don't know why. I was just like trusting, almost like mother figure. She's just kind of taking them under her wings, but no.
Yeah.
I think my red flag was almost because she was already there. So I was like, how is she already there? Why is she already there? So that was kind of my first thought. But we also met Mickey in that scene, and I didn't really have any red flags when it came to her either.
No, I didn't with Mickey. I thought she was just kind of there for the retreat.
Yeah.
My biggest red flag was that she didn't dress super comfy for the flight. She dressed chic, and I was like, I mean, I guess it's a book, but like, I've never seen anybody show up in more than like leggings to a flight.
Maybe she was trying to meet someone there. They're there for like relationship healing. So maybe she's like, I'm going to meet my man on this trip.
You're so right. She came with intentions.
How many people did you think was going to be a part of the retreat?
I pictured it being much more than it was for some reason. I was thinking like 10 plus people there.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I was very surprised. It was a very intimate group.
Yep.
Which, I mean, adds up for the type of exercises and things that they were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we saw it was only 6 people at the whole retreat, but at the airport we met technically 3. So it was Thea, Karen, and then Mickey. So when we got to the center, that's when we met the other 3 characters that were going to be a part of the journey. Did you guys have any inclinations of who was going to be there?
Well, not an inclination, but we met Grace. She was the one who drove them back to the center. And somebody pointed out that they're isolated. They said, damn, you're isolated. And Grace goes, just the way we like it. Like, I was like, no, thank you. Nope, that's not good. So I was immediately very suspicious of Grace. Like, that's not a normal thing to say to somebody.
No. Super culty.
Yeah, and they had like just changed their Wi-Fi passwords. They're like, oh, we have Wi-Fi, but like the password's changed, so you can't access it right now.
Did you think that the Wi-Fi was actually out, or did you think that was same?
No.
I was like, this is red flag central. There's no
everywhere.
way.
Because there was the we like to be isolated. There's the no Wi-Fi, and they all signed NDAs too. Like that's not normal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Run.
Yeah. Thea was talking about who she was going to see when she saw there. And then again, we saw Jonah there, which we talked about a little bit before. I was not surprised. I immediately knew he was going to be there. So I liked that we were reintroducing him for the first time. But I was on the edge of my seat when I was wondering how he was going to react to seeing Thea.
Their reaction was very, I don't know, almost anticlimactic because you expected this big, like, whoa. But they were both just like, okay, we're on a mission. And they were just immediately teammates, which was almost too easy.
Yeah, I think Thea followed his lead because she was like, oh my goodness, I know him. And he completely ignored her. And in her inner monologue, she said something like, oh, that's how we're going to play this. Okay.
Yeah.
So she just immediately jumped on board with whatever he was leading her through.
For a split second, I thought we were going to have an enemies to lovers arc. Just by the way she was like kind of framing it and the things she was saying. Oh, are we going to get like a full circle moment here? But then I was like, this is not a romance though. Where is this going to go?
I also kind of thought we were going to have an enemies to lover relationship throughout this book. I thought it was definitely going to be a little more romance and thriller together.
Yeah.
I was kind of shipping them at that point.
Me
I was
too.
like, you guys go for it. Like,
Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah, me too.
Like teaming up, we're gonna solve the mystery. We're gonna save the girl.
Yeah, I was like, okay, sure.
Yes. Yeah, I like them together.
We're going to hate each other. Got it.
In another universe, this could have turned into like a cozy mystery instead of what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. We also meet Remy and Dawn. Did you guys have any thoughts on either of them?
Dawn with an E.
Yeah. That's all. That was my only thoughts was Dawn with an E.
I almost didn't have any thoughts on them, but I thought they were really getting deeper into Thea and Jonah, and then we meet Sun and Moon. So I really was more leaning towards learning more about them.
There wasn't a ton that stood out with those two characters. They seem to definitely be just supporting characters throughout to set the scene for this retreat. But Soul and Moon specifically were a lot. What were your guys' initial impressions on each of them?
Yeah, it was weird because they weren't there immediately. I expected them to be greeting everybody as they arrived, but they, for some reason, were just like hidden away for a little bit. And then we only met them one at a time. And Soul was the first person we met, I believe.
Yeah.
And he seemed super entitled right off the bat. Like the way he viewed everybody, it seemed like he was on this pedestal and kind of looking down on them.
Yeah, it was super interesting to me how he was like, oh yeah, Moon's not feeling well. My hackles went up immediately. I was like, what do you mean she's not feeling well? What does that mean? Explain more. And then she did end up coming out, and I was like, Mommy and Daddy are fighting somewhere. I don't know where, but this isn't, the math's not mathing for me. So I definitely was super sus of Soul and Moon, like right off the bat. From the second he was like, yeah, she's not feeling good. I was like,
Yeah, aren't you supposed to be a team?
yeah. I was
Yeah,
like,
and
what do
it's
you
like-
mean not feeling good?
People paid $5,000 each to be led by you both. And you're like, oh, well, this person's not feeling good. Too bad. They paid way too much for that bullshit.
Yeah.
The event planner in me was like, I'm sorry, you ask people to pay how much and they're not there to like greet them by name even. I'm like, there's some red flags there.
Yeah, my biggest red flag was I didn't believe that she actually wasn't feeling good. What was actually going on behind closed doors? But then we see that Moon is really into the meditation and the spiritual ways.
I, this whole time, thought that she was with Catherine. Dealing
From
with
the
that.
beginning?
Because they had just arrived. She's just come back.
Oh,
and I was just
heard
like,
with
where's
Catherine?
Catherine?
I was like, with Catherine. Like, I
Yeah,
thought you meant like relationship wise.
Oh, no.
I
Like, I
didn't catch that
I
vibe
thought
from
that they
them.
were like separated where she was just dealing with the Catherine
She
situation.
probably was. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
I didn't even think of
Me
that.
neither.
So once everybody is actually getting involved with this retreat, we know it's all about relational and sexual healing. It's
Yeah.
very interesting, but everybody's there with the goal of walking out with the ability to find their soulmate. And they think that that's why they're going to be healed. So we start off with all of these like really uncomfortable exercises that they're doing as a group. And right off the bat, we have everybody stripping down to get into this like group hot tub situation.
Dude,
like,
yeah.
what were your guys' initial thoughts on that? Because I mean, if you weren't already suspicious of Karen, I feel like that was the moment where you're like, Karen, what is up?
Dude, she's like, I'm just going naked. It's fine.
No hesitation.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
Julia Bartz just threw us off the deep end there because we're like, this is kind of a crazy book so far. And then she's like, naked hot tub, everybody's in. Like, let's go.
It's like cult.
Yeah.
Immediately, I was like,
you
yeah,
weren't getting cult
run.
vibes yet. This is a cult. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, no, the way I was so with Thea when she was like, I'm not comfortable with this. I was like, retweet. Yeah. it's not cute.
it's not normal.
Oh
Well, and then Moon was like, okay, everybody close your eyes and turn around. I was like, oh, I'm more uncomfortable now for her. And then she proceeded to get in the hot tub. I was like,
Peer pressure.
oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, we're just fine with this because everyone's going to look away from our secret shame. And
Yeah, that didn't make it any better in my eyes. That made it like almost worse. That you're like, oh, I see your uncomfort. I'm gonna double down.
Yeah.
Here we go. And I was like, well, why can't she just like not? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it was just too much.
She's paying this much to be there, and you're gonna like basically force her into it. And they're also like forcing everybody to overshare like crazy from the beginning, which I thought was wild.
Dude, I thought it was wild how much they were paying for like a tent too. I was like,
And shared bathrooms that are like, have no doors. Like,
Oh yeah, the nudity was so just normal. Like these showers and everything being communal was so ick for me. Where I was just like, I can't get past that.
yeah.
It reminded me of college where like you would wear shoes into the bathroom. I was like, okay, so you need to wear shoes in the shower and you paid $5,000 like for this experience. I was like, oh my gosh.
All of us hung up on the price tag.
It felt like a
This is
shitty
not a
camp.
vacation.
Yeah.
Well, Mickey's on our side. She said, I spent $5,000 to sleep in this yurt and I can't sleep in the main house. And they're like, no, all the rooms are taken for artistic purposes. I was like, I want to see it. When are we going to see the art? Who's here? Who's creating all this that none of us can stay in here?
Yeah. The art stuff kind of did. I was like, are we really making art and making money off this? Or is this just some kind of ploy to like join the main cult?
It's a weird like theme in the book with art, because we start with the art therapy, and then there's like this central theme of art in the that part of the book, and then at the end, like not to just jump to the very end, but the end, she's talking about getting canvases and restarting like her artistic journey. So it was like a weird subplot that was woven through the whole thing.
Yeah, that was so weird. I didn't pick up on that with the beginning. That's such a good call.
Yeah, and the role-playing exercises that they were doing.
Oh my God.
So weird. Like it was supposed to go into their, I mean, literally, I think that was the most representative of what their goals were at the retreat with the relational and the sexual healing. It seemed like they were just putting you into these situations where different people who were at the retreat were participating in your, essentially like your reenactment of whatever your trauma may have been. And
Icky.
yeah, it was so weird. And people just like immediately took on this role and they were like playing this part, and it was so perfect. And that was just red flag central, where you were just like, what is going on? Why are they doing this? Why is everybody feeling this way? And like Jonah specifically was weird, because they were already supposed to be kind of like on the same team. This is weird. We're checking out what's going on with Catherine. They have not found her yet at this point in the book. So they're just kind of going through the motions. Jonah's playing this role that he's just born to play, and he's just right there in it. And I wish I had been a little bit more suspicious of it at the time. I thought he was just a good PI for a sec.
Me too. I was like, wow, he's such a good actor right now. Like, that's good for him. I was just confused how everybody knew what to say, because they're like, oh, you're now this person's dad, or like this random person in their life, and they just jump into character. I would just be like stuttering and stumbling and be like, what am I supposed to do? Tell me.
Yes, and
The improv is like, yes, and.
So who was the first person to have their group session?
Karen.
Yeah, Karen.
Karen?
Of
I thought it was
course.
Mickey for some reason.
No,
think it was
Karen
Karen.
raised her hand and she was like,
okay.
that was so manipulative to me, because she was the plant that she's like, oh, I'll do it. And everyone's like, oh, this like middle-aged white woman's going to do it. I guess I'll try. It can't be that bad.
Yeah. What did you guys think was the most interesting things that came up through those therapy sessions where everybody was role playing?
I think in the hindsight that Mickey wasn't being honest and she was playing a character that she was just able to like come up with on the spot. Like, yeah, I'm a sex addict and I slept with my best friend's husband on their wedding night. And she knew. I was like, are you sure that's just made up in the moment? Like, that feels too on the nose.
So specific.
I think Mickey was telling the truth. We learned why Mickey was there. So we learned Mickey was there because she is a reporter. I never picked up on that and when we knew that Thea and Jonah were sneaking around and then they encountered Mickey, I had no idea who I thought it was going to be. I definitely didn't think it was going to be Mickey. I thought it was going to be Moon, Soul, or Steven again.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Actually, nobody was there for the actual retreat then. Everybody had different like intentions and reasons to be there.
Except for
Dawn
Remy.
Remy and
yeah.
Dawn. Wait, I forgot
Dawn with an
existed.
E.
Dawn with an E. Yeah, they had their own little like spin-off moment later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds like the retreat worked actually for the only people.
Sign us up, 5,000 each. I'm down.
You're
I'm
married.
married.
I was gonna say it sounds like Ramit could afford it plus Dawn's. It's probably fine.
Oh, right, because Ramit said that he couldn't find love because he thought everybody was using him.
Yeah. Which also it's totally seemed like Moon and Soul were like, he has money. Do you see this, honey? Like, let's get him back for 2.0.
So true.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of the characters were planted. So they were planted there and they were like, yeah, we come back here all the time. We live here. We're full time. This worked out so well for us. And they're like, okay, it worked out so well. Why are you back here? Like, why do you keep coming back? Like, you're promised you're going to find your soulmate after. So who's your soulmate? Why are you still coming back?
Yeah, it does seem very unsuccessful.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about that at all.
Yeah, you'd be off living your dream life with your spouse now, but you're here again. Like,
Nice to see you.
They're here for the vibes.
such great vibes, too.
Yeah, the naked hot tub vibes.
The naked hot tub. The communal shower.
Dude, how did you guys feel about the hugging in the communal shower?
The
Dude,
hugging.
run. Are you kidding? Between Thea
don't
and
remember?
Moon?
Oh,
Did I read the same book?
I feel like, yeah, did they
Yes.
hug?
They hugged
Yes.
in the shower.
Yes.
It's not fine.
while showering?
Yeah. So Thea was saying how she only was washing like her shoulders because she didn't feel comfortable washing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I remember that scene.
And then Moon's like hugging her, and I'm like,
Okay,
oh my God.
I for some reason blocked out the hug because I do remember that scene. If she's like, I can't watch anything else
'Cause it was
as Moon is
traumatic.
watching
Yeah.
everything. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I
she
read it
was.
twice and just blocked that out of my
Yeah.
memory.
It was not comfortable. So yeah.
It didn't feel consensual.
yeah. Well, I was also couldn't place what I thought like Moon and Soul's intention was. Like, I was like, are they sex therapists / sex addicts? Or like, I thought it was a brothel. I was like, I thought they were literally having these, besides Karen, they were all like younger to maybe early middle age people coming to this retreat. And then we learned that Moon and Soul are in an open relationship, and there was a little bit going on with Steven and Moon. So I was like, I thought it was a brothel. I was like, this is weird
Interesting.
vibes that I'm getting. So the hugging in the shower was almost like it was confirming that it was like a brothel almost.
You're saying like they're bringing in people for their own sexual desires because they are in this open relationship?
Yeah.
Interesting. I did not clock that.
Yeah, well, it was like, so they're naked in the hot tub and now they're naked in the shower. It's a communal shower. So I'm like, clock. Like, I just thought it was like a whole sexual therapist encounter-esque vibe. I was wrong. I was wrong.
Were you, though?
A little. So, yes, I was wrong. Maybe I was a little right. I don't think it was a brothel. But I don't know. That's what I was kind of clocking throughout the book a little bit. And we go as early as hearing about sexual encounters from as young as she was 13 years old. So I was like, am I wrong? Now Jonah's here. We're picking up some clues. I couldn't tell.
So given that this retreat was giving potential brothel, naked hot tub, communal shower vibes, obviously we were reading this and we were all very uncomfy. My question for you all is, if you were Thea, would you have fled at this point, or would you have been like, I gotta find Adam Sandler or whoever?
I think I potentially would have stayed for the whole weekend. I would not have extended my weekend.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it would depend. Like, Adelaide Kane isn't there. Like, she hasn't seen Catherine. So, like, if I like saw her, I'd be like, I'm here. I'll stay forever. But like, no, if I hadn't seen that she was actually there, then no, I'm out. Like, that's such creepy vibes.
Yeah.
I'd have left immediately.
Yeah, I think that I'm in the same boat. Like, if I had some clues that for sure that person was present, I might have stayed. But the second you're asking me to get naked and get into a group hot tub, I would have been turning around and saying, I'm out. I don't need you guys to turn around. I would have been just gone. Like, when they open their eyes, they're like, oh.
Yeah, I think all of us would have a lot of questions in that moment, but it seemed like Thea kind of just dove right in and she started to be more and more involved in these like super intense sessions. Did you feel like she was getting pulled in too deep, or did you think that she was kind of should have been the way she was in those moments?
I think that she it's so hard because she was working in a psychiatric unit before. So I think that she did a very good job of like, as the reader, you're getting her character's thoughts about like, okay, this is something weird. And she's acknowledging that things are strange, but she's choosing to think that because she knows that she's not becoming a part of it. And it's almost like she thinks she's at this different level. But I don't think saying yes and being aware of what you're saying yes to separates you from the group. So it was very weird. It felt like an excuse for her to be able to say yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was a little torn because, again, we were reading from Thea's POV. So every time Thea's like, oh, they must be really good actors. And then we see Thea's involved with some of the group sessions. And she's like, well, you know, Moon's like really pulling this out of me. She's like, I know what I could say. I know what I want to say. But instead, I'm going to say this. So I was like, I don't know, like, is everybody acting, or Thea genuinely, again, she like knew what she wanted to say, but she just didn't say it. So was everybody acting? Were people part of it? The lines for me were very blurred.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I also was frustrated with her not like talking to more members of the group, which I, in hindsight, wouldn't have worked out for her very well anyways.
Yeah.
But I'm like, all these people are just like going with this. And like, she wasn't getting sketched out enough to me. Like her journal got stolen and she's just like, whatever. Like she's not raising alarms about these things. Like that's what kind of drove me a little bit crazy.
So did everybody think Moon and Soul took the journal?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then how'd you feel when you found out it wasn't them?
I
thought it was
genuinely
Jonah.
shocked.
Oh.
Because, like, I think that Jonah saw it or she mentioned it. And so the whole time I thought it was Jonah that took it.
Oh.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not clock that it was Catherine at all.
either.
I was like, somebody took her journal and they're using it against her. But
Not Moon and Soul, because they were talking about her like her dreams really early on. And I was like, oh, they're reading this in her journal somehow. But
yeah.
I was also so convinced of that. So later on, when we found out that Catherine took the journal, I was convinced of the whole plot of Stargirl, basically. I'm like,
Ooh.
yeah, it convinced me. I don't know. I was very intrigued when I found out Catherine had the journal and not Moon and Soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you touched on something that I want to talk so much more about, but my drink is like, again, empty. So I think I need more before we talk about this whole Stargirl reincarnation thing that happens in this book.
Perfect.
for our last bubble break, I made like a pineapple mocktail concoction. At the beginning of the retreat, they're told no alcohol, like you can't have any substances whatsoever. And they're given this like pineapple juice situation. We never know fully what's in it, but I made mine with pineapple juice, orange juice, ginger ale, and like some lime syrup. So cheers.
Cheers.
That's good.
I like that.
Ooh, that's refreshing.
That's tasty.
What's that?
Juice.
Why is
You
it?
want some juice?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
This is a mocktail, ladies.
It's no longer.
But we're not on the retreat.
You want more?
It was a mocktail. Sorry, Julia. I tried.
It's delicious, though. I loved it.
It was really good.
It was so good. It just needed another ingredient. Okay.
Yeah, it's just missing some. Anyway, cheers, lady.
Cheers. That's tasty.
Oh yeah, that's got
This is
the.
So good.
Yeah, delicious.
It was good both times.
Yeah, it was good.
Do you want some under the table? Shout out that random bartender who told me what was in that drink because it tastes pretty similar.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about reincarnation. It's brought up a couple times throughout the book. And now we're getting a little bit more into the plot and we're talking a little bit more about reincarnation. We see it coming up throughout the book. And we see that Thea goes into this locked door. And the locked door leads her upstairs and she sees all these paintings. And behind these paintings, she finds a head. And all of a sudden, she picked the head up or she saw the head and it looked like Catherine. Mm-hmm. What did you guys think in that moment?
Colt.
Dude, so real. Yeah, no, I was just like, okay, she's in the right place was the biggest thing that I thought about at the time. I was like, so Catherine is 100% involved and we need to figure out what role she's playing here. Also, why do they have a bust? Like at the time I was like, are they worshiping her?
That was a shrine, yeah.
Yeah. Like it was weird.
So
for a second, I wasn't 100% sure if it was supposed to be Catherine or if it was supposed to be Thea. Because I was like, they're supposed to look alike. So I was like, is this Catherine or is this Thea?
Yeah, but talking about the shrine, so later on we see Mickey and Jonah and Thea team together, and now they go into these locked doors. Jonah uses his PI skills to unlock these locked doors, and they find this cave. And they go down into the cave and see a shrine of Catherine with the bust there. So I don't know. How did it get there? What was going on? I feel like there was a lot between the two that, I don't know. I was curious what happened.
Yeah, and it brought you like right back to the prologue where you're just like, okay, so this is the cave. And you start getting way more suspicious about every single thing that's going on. And I don't know about you guys, but at the time, it made me think that this wasn't the first time that Thea had been to this place. Because of the dreams and everything that were going on throughout the book. I thought that she was now like being brought back somewhere that maybe she had escaped from.
That is so interesting because it did feel like her intuition was screaming at her, don't go down there. And she was like, I don't want to. And they were like, I'm going to go. And eventually peer pressure got her and she was like, okay, I'll go down, I guess.
I get the whole like peer pressure.
Yeah, I feel like I would love to say that I wouldn't have gone down, but like my soul tells me like I would have been like, okay, don't leave me alone. I'll go.
Yeah. I love that you didn't pick up on my joke at all.
I did.
Yeah, you're talking about the vodka.
Did.
I got it. I just moved past it.
I feel like my inkling would be like, call the police. I feel like there's you see this shrine, you're in this cave, you had this nightmare about it. Like I don't know. I'd be out. I'd be doing that emergency because she talks about the emergency call thing on her phone so many times. Like, how about let's use that feature? That sounds useful.
They end up in the cave and they're finding all these weird things. And at that point, she's feeling like, yep, she's in the right place. She's found the clue that she's been looking for. And at this point, she's been curious about what's going on with Catherine, but now she's ready to demand to see her. And we see her do exactly that. And she's like, okay, where is she? And they're so nonchalant about like, oh, she's over here. Like, come on and talk. And Catherine's just like, oh, look at me. I'm fine. And she's so shocked because she's okay and like just looking good. Like she was previously in this catatonic state where she's, I mean, in a way scared for Catherine's life and doesn't know what's going on with her. In theory, that's what you're supposed to be thinking, that she's going out there to save her. So they have this interaction and Catherine is just completely acting out of character for what she thought she was going to find. What did you guys think about that whole initial interaction?
Oh, that was so eerie. Because she was like, no, I didn't leave clues for you.
I'm so surprised you're here. Like, yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah, that to me was a little like, okay, well, if these clues were really here and then they were saying Catherine's name in the podcast, it does seem to like red alert. Like, I can see her thought process. Did I think it was a little like out on a limb to spend $5,000? Yes, but it still was like, there's no way she went all the way here and just for Catherine to look her in the eyes and be like, why would you think that?
Yeah, and I mean, she was kind of leaning towards that direction of kind of selling it as like, oh, like everything's fine. But then she started to seem a little bit fishy and started to like raise alarm bells. And then it was like at that exact moment where Moon walks in and it's like, well, that's enough.
Yeah, that was so weird how she just ended it too. She was like, that's done. Especially right, because I think the line that Catherine said right before Moon walked in was like, you should leave.
Yeah. She mentioned like everything's fine to like leave, go.
Yeah.
She was putting on a facade and then it seemed like that was just when the truth came out. And despite that, Thea stays.
It made me think there's like cameras or something. I was like, how did Moon know that exact moment to walk in and be like, oh, that's the end of the conversation. Like it's getting.
I just pictured her like ear pressed up.
I was gonna say she was sitting here like this.
I was getting cup to the door, cup to the wall vibes the whole time. Because that happened more than once throughout the book. So I was like, no, they're just standing outside the door, like free listening. So as soon as the question comes up, it's like, okay, like time to stop this.
Yeah, I mean, from the beginning, Thea felt like she was being watched the whole time. So I feel like there was like people were snooping always. Like there was always an ear listening in, no matter where you were, what you were doing. People were keeping an eye, whether that was Moon or Soul or whether that was Catherine.
See, I let that like voice, I guess, kind of silence for myself throughout the book after Catherine admitted that she was the one that was kind of watching her before they found her. And then after that, I wasn't as suspicious of everybody.
With Moon and Soul, did you kind of see like a duality between the two where Soul seemed to be totally in it for the money, for the podcast, for the dollars that this retreat was bringing? And then Moon was like totally like believing in this higher purpose. And I felt like the red flags of that just clashing were there from the start. Did you guys see that at all?
Oh,
Absolutely.
Yeah. It almost felt like Soul was just like the mastermind and just letting Moon believe all this random shit that he created. Like that's the vibes I got from the beginning, because he was the one who first came out and like introed the group, and he seemed super, as I had said earlier, like looking down on everyone. It seemed like he was on a pedestal, and so I kind of got that vibe that he was a master manipulator, and Moon was just like very gullible and would believe what Soul would say. Like that's kind of how I saw it.
Yeah.
As soon as somebody's described as like charismatic, I'm done.
Red
Yeah, I'm like, oh, cult leader. That's all we need to know is you have charisma.
You got Riz. You're
Bad news.
yeah.
Yeah, you'd think with all those red flags that Thea would want to be on the first like car out of that place, but we end up finding out that she decides to stay, and it's not like fully a decision to stay. She's staying because she made plans with Catherine to leave in the middle of the night that night with Jonah too. So they were planning to stay just until I think like 4 a.m. the next morning and go, but it meant that everybody else was leaving and they were like left behind. What were your guys' thoughts on that?
I thought like a little bit of red flags. I was like, oh, you're leaving the safety of the group to be with like the crazy people that you've kind of like self-diagnosed as like kind of a little crazy, and you're just gonna trust them. I mean, I get that Jonah was there and she was believing in Jonah and their like partnership, but still, I was like, you just met him too though. Like, is he really that trustworthy?
Yeah, I kind of got the same vibe where I was just like, okay. I mean, you have to think about it though from Thea's perspective, because she has just found the thing that she came for. So I can definitely get on board with her saying like, okay, if she wants to do it this way, because Catherine was the one that was very adamant about, no, we have to leave at this time.
Yeah.
But I could understand why you would stay if you found the person that you were looking for.
I feel like you got to go safety in numbers though, and like Catherine's parents were looking for her, so I feel like I would want to leave with the group, call the police if they don't want to do anything, like call Catherine's parents, tell them where she is, like you located her, you found out she's kind of in a weird cult, like I don't know, I wouldn't want to stay behind with only the cult leaders and like Jonah, who a few days ago I thought was like the worst person in the world. Like now I trust him, but also I would still want to be the first to leave and just call the cops.
Yeah, I was on board with Thea should probably get out, but I was so convinced that they were leaving at 4 a.m. I thought they were taking the car and I thought they were going to be able to leave, but
oh my gosh,
that was me in a state of delusion, because then we found out they had such a wild night that night, and we can get into it, but I was like, oh my gosh, like what is going on? Like, are they going to be able to make it till 4 a.m? And then we realized that.
Dude, the second that alcohol came out, I was like, Thea, get your shit sober. And she was like, oh, maybe just a taste.
Just some alcohol. Because they said from the beginning, no alcohol. It's so important for the journey. Like, what do you think they're doing with this? Like, do you think this is good intentions? They're like, oh, just a little to loosen up. Like, no, run.
No. The alcohol came out. I was like, it's over.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yep. Well, and then she was like, Jonah, can you drive? Are you okay to drive? You can drive, right? And he's like, yeah, no problem. He's drinking wine. He's drinking whiskey. They're drunk. I was like,
he's like, God, no problem, girl. I'm not letting you leave alive.
Dude, I was the second that Jonah was also drinking, I was done with Jonah. I don't know about you guys, if like at what point you stop trusting him, but for me, it was the second he was also drinking, because for me, I was like, you're on the job. In theory, you're supposed to be there to work. Why would you, for a second, especially because this is clearly a cult.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what, if you've made it past leaving when everybody leaves, you know what you're getting into at this point. And Thea's already having these thoughts about plants and that this is a cult. Like, she's aware of what's going on. So why does she trust Jonah still when he's drinking?
Especially after those group sessions where he's getting kind of like into this other character for these other people. And he's like, I don't know what happened. It's almost like too suspicious where he's going along with it so hard, but also like, no, I don't know. I don't know what happened. And then also just like chugging back drinks where you're like, okay, well, 2 and 2 is 4, not 1. Jonah, what are you doing?
And if you had like paid attention to the Stargirl story and everything earlier on, I had gone back and read that a couple of times.
Yeah.
And you were kind of meant to be suspicious of the guard or whoever too.
Yeah.
So like I felt like that was going to be the role that he played.
Yeah, I also feel like I should have been more suspicious of the fact that he was already at the retreat. Like they were at the airport together, right? Like he wasn't at the airport with them. He was just there already.
I didn't clock that, but that is such a good point because theoretically they should have both been leaving from New York, and he
they should
wasn't
have been on the same flight.
Yeah, he wasn't on that flight. That's such a good point.
I didn't clock that because I knew there was an earlier flight, but I didn't know where from. Because there were 2 flights there. That's why there were 3 there, and then the 3 went. So I didn't clock that.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So we kind of teased about like what happened when they started drinking. I feel like we just got to talk about that wild night and why things crash and burn. Like, I'm sorry, but the orgy party that happened, dude, like, how else do we talk about like that night without talking about like what happened? Like, if you were not already like ready to leave, would you not just be like, that was too far? That was the line. Like, yeah, I feel like I would have saw so many red flags in that moment. Like, I get she was intoxicated, but like, I don't know. I don't know that I could willingly be like.
You have to remember too, though, like she was kind of primed for it because as they're going through the group therapy sessions that we were talking about a little bit earlier, I think that she was already kind of in a position where she was playing out that sexual trauma that she had been through as a child. So
Yeah.
I think that she was already supposed to be in this vulnerable space, and that's how they were kind of like brainwashing her a little bit with it. And now we've got the alcohol involved and everything else to kind of loosen her up. So to me, I felt like Thea was just choosing to go with it. Like she was more okay with it than she chose to believe.
Yeah, I definitely think she was getting, not groomed for it, but groomed for it. So she invited Jonah over at the very beginning and they didn't do anything. And then she sees Jonah there and now they're drinking and his hand is on her leg in the hot tub. And then they continue to drink and then they're watching Moon and Soul have fun. And then they're like, why don't you join us? After Thea told them about her sexual trauma. And then they're like, oh, we're in an open relationship. We'll just help you get past it by just having a big old orgy.
We totally don't normally do this. This is like so not the normal situation here. Yeah.
Not on first timers.
Dude, it was just so, I don't know, take my hand. Like, ew, get out of here.
No, that's the moment where I was like, dude, Soul is totally in this for the money and the, like, he is not in this for this bigger picture that Moon is like, the stars all aligned and the reincarnation is this and the spiral, whatever. Like, Soul is not on the same page. He's like, this is a great gig for me. Are you kidding? I get money. Moon is hot. Like, that's what I'm about.
Well, that's why I thought that this was like a whole brothel and a sex retreat, because I thought that way with Moon. I was like, Moon's just walking around naked, showering with everyone, getting in the hot tub naked with everyone. I was like, Moon's in it for the sex.
Yeah.
She is here for the sex. And then Soul's like, no, we're in an open relationship. Like, we just do this all the time. I was like, well, they said they didn't do it all the time. I was like, I bet this happens at least once a month because the retreats are every month. So this happens once a month at least.
She did the math.
Yeah, she's like 12 times a year. How often this happens.
Dude, it was just so off the wall where I feel like the entire, like, I mean, it was what, 2-3 chapters that we were going through this whole experience. In the whole time, I was just like jaw dropped. I couldn't understand what all was happening, but it just didn't stop.
I do feel like at that point of the book, you like can't put it down now. You're like,
Yeah.
I'm in it.
Yep.
Like, let's find out what happens.
Yeah.
And then we have her like wake up the next morning, and I immediately knew, like, when she woke up, I'm like, oh, you slept way through that.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
that 4 a.m. is done and gone.
Yeah.
Oh, we can't forget about the fact that, like, Catherine basically walks in on it, too.
Oh,
after
dude.
she's, like, agreed to make sure she gets her out of there at 4 o'clock. And then she's just like, you always do this.
Well, she was like watching them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then the question is, when they're all in Moon and Soul's room, why is it that Catherine was able to walk in on them? What was she looking for? Was she the once a month?
Was she the normal? She was like, I'm off. They haven't come pick me up yet. I'm waiting.
The brothel.
That is so.
No, it was a big whorehouse. That's it. That's just it. There's no other way to describe anything that happened. That's why
They
I was
were
like,
just in it
it's
for.
not a cult. It's a whorehouse. What are we talking
Isn't that
about?
like a key component of cults, though, is to like
lot of the time.
suppress and control sexuality?
Frequently, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, but man, Catherine, she really got the shit end of the stick there.
Dude, yeah, you're so right. She was like, you always fuck up. I was like, dang. Girls bringing up the past lives in that.
Yes. You know, we haven't talked enough, I feel, about the whole reincarnation
Oh,
aspect
dude,
of
yeah.
this. We keep implying it. And I mean, obviously, if you're at this point in the podcast, I would like to think that you've read the book. Because if you haven't, I'm sorry, we've spoiled everything. But this whole reincarnation thing, Catherine is basically trying to convince her that she is her twin sister that is from this past life, that they were these priestesses that were living together in Egypt, and they are trying to correct the wrongs that played out the first time that they were on this earth in order to protect people and save them. And it's getting misconstrued and like messed up every single time. And they seem to believe in this group that that is why they keep coming back together and being drawn together, is to get it right so that humanity can survive. Like they're acting like this is literally life and death for humanity itself.
Yeah, I don't know what your guys' feelings are on this reincarnation thing. I don't know if I land that this is a holy reincarnation story, because I do feel like there's something to be said for the power of suggestion. And it's almost like from the start, Thea is primed for this, like, this is so similar to you and Adam and you and Pastor John. This is so similar, right? And now here we are, right? I'm this person. And to me, it didn't feel like one for one. It felt like you could like identify with the story, especially with it being centered around like a 13-year-old who kind of looks like you. I could see you watching Stargirl and being like, oh, I kind of identify. I kind of like feel seen in this movie, but not necessarily like you've had so many lives in the past that are that story and they all align. Like it just felt a little power of suggestion-y to me more than like reincarnation. So I'm curious what you guys feel or felt like while you were reading.
Yeah, I definitely think that part of it had to do with Thea's past too, where she kind of was easily pushed to believe different things because she had her own traumatic past and her own issues she was working through. So like if she didn't have those things that she was struggling with in her personal life, then maybe she might not have been as easily suggestible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was still convinced it was like a whole group delusion kind of thing. Like that was brought up a lot. And I was always convinced it was the group delusion. But I don't know. I'm so torn because of the way Moon was talking about the dreams and how did she know everything. But I don't know. It's like, were they therapists? Was it a group delusion? Was it a cult? Was it all three? Like, I think there was a lot of things that could be influenced by everything pretty much. So I don't know. The whole time, it's not that the book was confusing to read, but I was confused as the reader as to what I thought was going on the whole time. So that's why I thought it was such a good read and what made me wanting to keep read to get to the end and see what actually happened and what the ending of the story was.
Did you have a different opinion the first time you read versus the second time you read on whether it was group delusion or reincarnation, or did you feel torn both times?
So I never thought it was really a reincarnation story. I always thought there was kind of a mental illness going on behind Moon more than Soul, as we read into the book, because we saw Moon was really pushing for that reincarnation. And I never really thought it was reincarnation, especially because of how close it tied to Stargirl. I was more convinced that, you know, Thea really loves Stargirl. So yeah, could she be having dreams about it? Absolutely. So I was more holding on to, it was a little bit of group delusion more than it was reincarnation. But
See, I might have been in a different boat from everybody. I agree that like I was very, very torn. And here's my issue with like getting on one side or another too, is specifically when they talk about Stargirl, I don't feel like the cave is brought up at all. And that's what the prologue is. And then Thea draws the cave in her very first like therapy session. So to me, knowing specifically too that Catherine, when she was in the cave, had the thoughts about like, I just pretended I was being born.
Yeah.
That was what was in the prologue. So to me, I'm reading that, and I also made a comment to all of you about this snake being significant because it was on the spine of the book. And at one point we talk about the snake with the whole prophecy and everything for how things came up with the girls. So when that was brought up, I just kind of believed everything that was going on with that. And I had a hard time standing where Moon and Soul also would have been able to understand what was going on with Thea's thoughts and dreams, because I don't know that Catherine would have shared the diary.
Oh, you're saying because they knew a little bit about Thea's past and Catherine was the one to steal the diary?
Yes. So it's like I have a hard time believing, because she seemed to want to protect Thea to a certain degree here, and they wanted to get out. And I think she was trying to figure out who Thea was. I felt like they were just in it together differently from the rest of the group. And that seemed to be the way that the girls were going through it, if you were believing the reincarnation story. So I had a really hard time deciding which side I was on, I guess, with it. And in the diary that she has, she's never met Catherine before this, as far as we know. And she has the dream about making a choice and being like taken by a snake and all of that. So I had a really hard time understanding how they could have pre-delusions unless she had somehow been there before.
I think that was a fun part of the book, was that it was a little bit up to interpretation. So you could kind of read into it how you wanted to, because I was definitely not buying into reincarnation. But now that you say that, I'm like, oh, maybe that actually makes more sense than I was thinking. But I think she left it purposefully a little bit vague so that the reader could see it how they wanted to see it, kind of.
Yeah.
The thing that really brought me back to the group delusion was the whole ending of the book. If we're ready to dive into that.
Yeah, let's go.
What did everybody think of that? I really think the last couple of chapters really had a lot of impact on the story. We saw people were dying and just like crazy things were happening. So we can start with what happened to Thea.
Yeah, I feel like we should talk about that last session first.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they slept through their time they're supposed to leave, and Thea is kind of freaking out now, and Jonah's like, oh, I have a gun, like no worries, we got this. And she's like, oh, bet, okay, you got a gun, like we'll be fine. And so they go down into the cave with everybody else for the session, and
For Grace's
sacrifice or not sacrifice, whatever.
Yeah, sacrifice.
Basically,
Sacrifice, preparing the way for Thea later. I still, for some reason, was trusting Jonah. So when he grabbed onto, Thea was trying to leave. She realized what was happening. Grace was going to be throwing herself into this pit. And Thea's like, okay, like time to leave. I'm out. And expecting Jonah to do the same. He has this gun. And Soul grabs her arm. And then I'm like, okay, Jonah, like it's time to pull out that gun. And instead he grabs her other arm. And I was like, no.
The way that caught me so off guard too.
Yes.
I was like, why did I not see this?
Yes.
You guys didn't stop trusting him?
No, I did think it was interesting how they said that Jonah was like the guard. So I was like, ooh.
But when he was drinking, you weren't just like,
no.
So
I didn't think he would have got in on that whole session.
I didn't trust him. Like when they first got to the retreat, I was like, why are you here? I didn't trust that right away. And then once I got to know him a little bit more at the retreat, I was like, oh no, they're buddies. Like he's on her side. I like retrusted him.
I'm just
He
like
gaslit
blown
me.
away.
The way I trusted that enemies to lovers arc was like too hard.
Lovers! I thought he was.
Yeah, I was like, okay. Enemies, lovers, got it. Yes. I'm here. That's not how it went.
I thought he was a PI through and through. I did not expect him to pull her back down. I didn't. I was so rooting for, not even the both of them as a couple, but I was just rooting for them as people to get out and to help Catherine.
I was mad at myself when I saw the revelation. I was like, man, he went too into those group sessions without any oh, I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
I was like, dang it.
For me, it was the drinks. I was just like, as soon as he was drinking, I was like, nope, he has no intention of driving. Or if he does, what a jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, talking a little bit more about Grace, we go back to the whole reincarnation story that they think they're all a part of. Grace is supposed to be, I think, playing the role of the person that caused all the drama in the first place. So they try to convince Grace that she is responsible for basically sacrificing herself to pave the way for Thea to sacrifice herself later because she was a liar in the past, and this is how she's supposed to redeem herself in a horrible way.
Well, I thought in the movie or dreams that Moon or Soul, or maybe both of them, they were the pharaohs, killed Thea. Wasn't that how it played out?
I think it was Moon who did.
Yeah, I think Moon was supposed to kill them.
The queen.
That's why Thea had to sacrifice herself willingly, which is what tied into Grace sacrificing herself as well.
I think they also, like, Grace was the one who pushed Catherine the last time too. So they were like, you messed up. Catherine was the right person.
Yeah.
Like, she kind of pushed the wrong person into the pit previously. So they're like, well, it's your turn.
Yeah, and then Thea was always questioning it because Thea then realized that since she looked like Catherine and they thought she was like Catherine, they had the same birth. This is where it all tied together, how were Thea and Catherine related. We realized that Thea was supposed to be the sacrifice. So then they were going to sacrifice Thea, but it always said that the sacrifice had to go willingly. And Thea was like, I'm not willing to go willingly, so it's not going to work, so I'm not willing to sacrifice myself.
Yeah, that was so strange too, because it felt like Moon, Grace, Jonah, and to some extent Soul were all like, yeah, you do this willingly. And she was like, no, I don't remember the rest of this like reincarnation dream. I passed out. I don't know if I even agreed to sacrifice myself. So you can't prove that this is right.
Yeah.
Kind of trying to like loophole herself out of it. But the way the group delusion was just like, you'll sacrifice yourself. It's fine. Go ahead and die. Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, that just seemed like Soul with his money-hungry aspect of his character. I didn't think that everybody was necessarily agreeing that she was being compliant, but I did think that Soul thought that was going to be the only way for them to get past this to get to the podcast. That's what I thought was his whole goal, was to just get Moon over this so they could make money. Yeah. Because I think that Moon was fully believing in this reincarnation story.
I think that's more what it was, because it was mentioned by, I think, Thea. She was like, you're nothing without Moon, because she is like this alluring and this personality driven person, whereas Soul's like more the supporting role. I mean, like, his name's David, okay? Like, I mean, her name's Sarah too, so I mean, no offense.
Whoa.
There's always a Sarah in these books.
No, there is. Yeah, there is always a Sarah.
I feel like we're not talking about what happened with Thea and Grace and that whole last session and last encounter enough. There was a lot to unpack about what happened. So now we're realizing how Catherine got out of the cave, and Catherine still doesn't know, and neither did Thea. So did you guys think Thea was going to be rescued from this cave?
Yeah, when she was like waiting for that day to come, because after Grace throws herself in, she has like that whole next like day she's chained to this bed, and in her head she's like, Catherine did get out. There has to be a way out. She doesn't know how she got out, and you know, you're hoping Catherine's going to be the savior in this scenario because she comes in to visit, and it seems like Catherine's just like checked out. She's like, no, you know, I was going to help. I was going to like have us get out of here, but at this point, too late. You always ruin everything. It's like, die.
Yeah. She's like, let's try again next life.
Yeah, and so then when Thea gets thrown into the little pit too, it's like, I did not know what to expect there. And Grace is just like gone already.
Yeah.
Like that was really a lot.
Yeah, it was very interesting how Grace died right away. But then we knew Catherine didn't. So it's like, how did she survive? And then Thea didn't die right away. So how did she survive?
Catherine was alive for like 9 days or something crazy in that cave.
Dude, yeah.
Like absolutely insane.
Yeah, that was another part that was kind of interesting because they almost tried to make it sound like astral projection for a half second when Thea was in there, and I think the snake came and talked to her again and was just like, just picture yourself outside this, like just do it like that. And she did for a moment have this feeling like she was outside of her own body, which at that point you got to think, girlfriend's literally dying. Like she's hallucinating, crazy things are happening. But not once did I think that Clint was in his scuba gear heading down to this cave, saving the day secretly while Karen's drugging everyone.
You're right. I didn't think
Never
that either.
ever. And that is the one thing that like really ruins the whole reincarnation thing, I think, for me.
Yeah.
Because for half a second, if she had actually like gone further into the astral projection thing of it, I would be like, all right, I'm just reading a different book. We're just going for it full send. You decided to do the one-up, like you just committed to the project, and we're doing astral projection now, and that's what makes the book work. But it didn't, and I was really, really grateful for that, because I think I would have been super upset if that was the ending.
Yeah.
But Clint in his scuba gear was just almost the like reality equivalent of astral projection. Because how?
Yeah.
What did everybody think about her when she was almost in the lives of everybody else while she was down in the cave or hole? Oh my goodness. I didn't know what to think, especially because if I had to go 60-40 on it, I would have been 60% reincarnation. I'd be 40% group delusion with the dreams and the journal. Like the timing didn't add up if that was truly her own journal at 13. But what really threw me off was the whole when she woke up in the spaceship. And it seemed like she got a second half to the way that Stargirl ended, where she said that she was giving herself up, like they were trading almost. And I wondered if that was what was going on and why it was supposed to continue was because it was one and then the other sacrificing themselves.
Oh, that's so interesting. Because for me, I saw the Stargirl connection, and I again thought that was the power of suggestion, where your brain is like, where you're in this flight or flight, like I might die in this cave, and her brain is just taking over and making scenarios happen that like help her survive. So it's like, that's fine. If you want to live in Stargirl, we'll go there, girl. I'm gonna get you out of this alive.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that even as a possibility. I was just thinking that it was just all memories.
Yeah, I almost thought she was dead when she was thinking about all of these things. Well, not thinking, she was in everybody else's body almost, and what they experienced. I don't know. I thought she was dead.
When she heard like the snake talking to her and she was like going into like the doorway or something, I was like, oh, that's death. Like,
Yeah.
But then she does make it out, and you know, you think maybe, or maybe I was the only one who was hopeful that maybe she's just gonna be okay. And no, all of them are waiting up there for.
That was crazy. That was crazy. I didn't think that was going to happen.
No. Well, I should have, but no.
Yeah. As soon as Karen had put something into her pocket, I assumed something was going to be fine because Karen had been a part of it for a while, and because I'd known Catherine got out of it. So I just assumed that must have been whatever helped Catherine. So as soon as it was gone, I was like, oh, crap. So I didn't really know what was going to happen after that. I wasn't fully expecting her to be saved, but I did think that Karen had done something, or Karen would have known something. So I thought at some point, if she hadn't maybe done something she was supposed to do, that Karen would intervene. But I thought that Karen was going to basically be like, get out this way.
Can we talk about for a second the fact that you're saying Karen? And I was with you until Karen was like, it was a full past life takeover. I was like, oh, homegirl's still in talk.
Yeah.
She was like, I don't believe in what's happening, but I believe in the cult. And this is a past life takeover.
I did believe in that. Yes. You can believe both.
I was just like, she's crazy. Yeah. I'm crazy, but at least she's doing the right thing.
That's exactly what I just accepted that. I was like, she knows, but she don't know.
Yes, and throughout the whole book, did you guys think all of the drinks were laced with something?
Oh, yeah. I was waiting for like somebody to be tripping balls or something, but it didn't happen. And I felt like Thea has been drinking heavily enough that she would have like picked up on like if it was like making her feel some kind of way.
I think they were all on a trip while they were. I think they just kept drinking things. And the way they were giving them the drinks sometimes, I'm like, oh, it's laced with something, like with the whole matcha. Moon sat there waiting for Thea to have a sip of the matcha, and then the pineapple juice being passed around. I was like, no, these drinks are laced with something. But I don't know how we didn't talk about that earlier, but this whole time I was like, it might be group delusion, but it might also be a group trip.
It's part of the indoctrination, no? Like, it's like, it's fine. It's just this. So speaking about Thea getting into the cave, she eventually finds her way out, which we learn is through Clint and Karen, as we kind of alluded to with that wild, like, she's drugging everybody, and Clint comes with his scuba suit. And immediately after that, I feel like the book is I mean, I said this earlier, but like after this point, it's like you really can't put down this book because like shit is just flying in the fan. And when they surface, they find Moon and Soul like confronting them, like, what are you doing?
Where are you going?
After that, things escalate so quickly. And we find Thea, Mickey, and Clint and Karen desperately trying to come up with some kind of reasoning to get with the cult. And of that, they come up with this idea that, and it really does feel like an idea that they just sat down and were like, this is what we're going to present to them. Where they're like, yeah, this sacrifice didn't work because we all have to go at the exact same time. Mm-hmm. We all got to die at the exact same time. And Soul is like, bull fucking shit. And Moon is like, you're right. That is why this hasn't worked. So my question for you guys is like, how did that journey go for you?
My head was just spinning towards the whole end of the book.
That's fair. That was like whiplash for sure. Because I was like, oh, they're all drugged. Like, they can get out for real. Like, this is going to be okay. And then just there they are, just waiting.
Well, I thought the end of the book was such, like Bethany said, such a whiplash. I mean, multiple people were like dying all of a sudden, and I was confused how it was all happening and who was doing it all. So I really think we got to see Moon's character development at the end and what she was there for, and really the division between her and Soul.
Yeah, she was ready to just buy into it. She's like, yeah, sure, we're all going to die at the same time. Let's go jump off this building. Like,
yeah, and that's exactly why she didn't tell Soul. So I don't know. That ending, it was crazy for me.
Yeah, it was wild. Did you guys think it was interesting too, where Moon just kind of dropped the accent?
Oh, no, yeah.
Yeah, she was just like, I'm done with this. Like, yeah, you just called me out. Woohoo. Like,
yeah,
now what?
Her like fake accent to me felt like, oh, this is trendy. This is on brand. This matters. And it's not authentic and not like who she is as a person and is who she thinks she is or who her past life is. I don't know. That just made me think you're trying to manipulate. You're not trying to be authentic.
I thought it was interesting, though, that she was willing to just throw herself off the roof if she didn't really believe that, because I would have thought that like she would have been right there with Soul, where he was just like, what do you mean? Like, we're in charge here.
I think she believed it.
Yeah, that's where it's like, I really do think she believed it. So the whole like dropping the accent thing was just like a weird thing that didn't make sense to me, where I was just like, okay, so why is she doing it in the first place? And maybe it was the whole past life thing, but then why would you acknowledge your other self if you're actually experiencing a past life takeover? Wouldn't you be in one versus another?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know. So for me, that was a little bit of a plot hole where I couldn't figure out exactly where Moon was at. The end of the book was so fast that it was just hard to comprehend where everybody landed on which side of the coin with everything. But I genuinely tend to believe everybody was a little bit crazy except for Soul, because he seemed to be the only one 100% objecting.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the group delusion kind of set in for me because Moon knew that everybody had to sacrifice themselves from what Thea and the group told them.
That's where I felt like Catherine firmly landed on the group of like delusion, because it felt like she did want to protect Thea. And that kind of made me think like, maybe the reincarnation, but I still feel like Catherine believed it, Moon believed it, and some of their members believed it. I don't think Joe/Jonah firmly believed it, which is why he like felt so strongly towards doubt. It's because he was kind of like the Jonah character that he was playing was confident, believed in what he was saying, and like firmly felt those things. But Joe seemed to be like, whatever you say, Moon, whatever you say, I think. I don't know. He stabbed me. I'm kind of bleeding out. Can you help me? Like, it was just like not the same man, in my opinion. Yeah. So yeah, I agree though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just happy to see Thea make it out, because I just didn't know what was going to happen by the end. So for her to get home and hopefully get on the right track, she was going to get into art again. I think she was going to maybe see a new therapist. Like, I was like, you know what? Crazy things happen, but at least she's maybe going to make it out better than she started.
And she didn't have to move because she got to live with Dom again, because her Dama and her girlfriend had problems, so I was like, full circle. Maybe her and Dama will end up together.
Oh,
But I also just wish they would just talk to each other.
yeah. I felt
Just the
like
thing that I hate in every book, but
Yeah, communication is always the downfall.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I was happy at the end of the book. It did feel like we got a full circle moment where she was addressing her trauma, addressing the issues with her alcoholism, and addressing the issues with her previous therapist.
I think the center just like works. Like their treatment. Like she kind of got rid of her alcoholism a little bit, her like sexual trauma. She got over that at the retreat. So
Yeah.
and Ramit and Dawn with an E.
Yeah.
yeah,
I
happily
mean,
ever after.
They did meet soulmates potentially.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something to this.
I don't want to go there.
I'm married, so you guys can go check it out. Let me know how it goes.
What about you, Sarah?
I spilled.
Would you be at that retreat?
No, I'm okay.
I do have to ask, like, genuinely, what point would you be like out if you found yourself in that retreat?
Hot tub.
Hot tub?
When they were getting naked in the hot tub the first time, like before they even had any of the sessions, that would have been one of my first red flags, definitely.
I think like the no Wi-Fi, the
Yeah.
like communal showers. She felt like people were watching her from the beginning. I'm already out. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna trust my gut on that one and leave.
For me, it's the $5,000 price tag. I'm like, I'm not even signing up. Are you kidding? I'm so not doing that.
Overall, with the book, though, I mean, what did you guys think? 1 to 5.
I would probably rate this book out of 5, probably a 4.5. I was pretty up there. I mean, it kept my interest. I was so involved in everything, like questioning what's going on. It really piqued my interest. I was so encapsulated by the whole book. So I probably would have said a 4.5.
Yeah, I think I was at a 4. I really loved it. It was super like unhinged and unputdownable. There's definitely things where I'm like, is this super realistic? Like, not always, but was it a great time? Yes. So solid 4 for me.
Yeah, I think I piggyback off the 4. I just had a wonderful time with the book. There was a few things that really made me think, especially with the whole, like, again, I'm still like 60-40. I'd love to read it again and see where I end up on my reread, but I can't decide how I feel about the ending. So if there's a book that makes you want to read it again, I feel like it was really up there, but there was a few things that I was just like, okay. So that's where I couldn't get to the 5.
I think I gave it a 5 on Goodreads, but like it's because this gave me such soap opera vibes from the beginning. I was like eating it up. I could not stop. I don't know if you guys watch Rosalinda in, sorry if this is like a deep cut, but like in high school Spanish class, Rosalinda was like the Spanish soap opera that we always watched as like a treat, if you will. And the way this just like made my brain go back to that moment of like, yeah, it's unhinged and it doesn't make any freaking sense, but like I'm here for the drama. But I did have so much fun reading this book, and I was like, I think I read it in like a day because I was like,
Same.
it's unhinged and crazy, but like I'm here for the escapism, if you will.
I think that about wraps up our discussion on this super crazy book. I highly recommend you guys reading The Writing Retreat. It's just as unhinged. It's just as much fun. So if you guys like this book, which it seemed like you all did, I think you should give that a read too. We're really excited because next month we're diving into The Tenant by Frida McFadden. It's our brand new book that's coming out in May. So we'll see you guys in that episode.